Greetings and salutations, and thank you for clicking on the video. Today we're going to take a look at Linux Mint 18.1 Serena. This has been out for a little while. Lots of folks that I work with through Easy Linux are running Linux Mint 18, and they're asking me, should I upgrade to 18.1? Thus far, I've been telling them, hang on, stay with what you got as long as it's working. Let's let this settle in a little bit. Let's see what's going on. And that's what we're going to do today, is just take a look at 18.1 and what it has to offer. This is not an in-depth distro review. This is not going to be some sort of definitive guide of how to use Linux Mint 18.1. All this is a look around. We're going to install it and we're going to play with it. We're going to see what's new and talk about what jumps out. So I might miss one or two things here and there. Keep that in mind. Most of the clients that I have worked with in the last year have asked for Linux Mint specifically. And depending on what kind of hardware they have, I have either recommended Linux Mint 17.3 or Linux Mint 18. Linux Mint 17.3, it's getting a little long in the tooth now because it's based on Ubuntu 14.04, but it is absolutely the most stable Linux Mint experience that you can have at this point. Linux Mint 18 is relatively stable, but it does inherit some of the bugaboos that come from the Ubuntu 16.04 base that they use as the base of Linux Mint 18.1. Most notably is the lovely network manager bug that continues to be a problem in Ubuntu 16.04, so therefore some folks have a problem keeping their internet connected, and I really don't have much of a solution to offer for that other than to create a little script that restarts network manager, and I've already posted a video about that. So here we are on the Linux Mint page. We are looking at the page about Linux Mint 18.1 Serena. We're going to talk about the Cinnamon edition today. They have just released betas for KDE, and they have a beta for the XFCE desktop. And so they're still shaking this thing out for all of the different flavors of Linux Mint. And the first thing probably we want to look at here is the release notes. It would be a good idea to read through those before you attempt an upgrade. So let's look at Cinnamon here, and they talk about some of the different things that you can do at install to get it going if you have video driver issues. So if you're going to be installing this, definitely take a look at this, see whether any of this stuff affects you. Let's look at what's new. So what is new in Linux Mint 18.1? We have a new screensaver with some functionality. Looks like they've done something with the menus, so if we play the little video here, we can see what it does. Move things around a little bit, I guess. Okay, pretty cool. We can set the panel to be vertical now, woohoo. We have a new search bar in the Xed application, which is the text editor. The X Player Videos program can blank a screen now. Okay. And there's a few little changes here with updates and so forth. So you can come and take a look at that if you want to. And most of the changes are cosmetic. So let's go ahead and just jump into taking a look at it running here in a virtual machine. This is a live image running. It is not installed. The first thing I noticed when I booted this up was that there's no welcome screen. It didn't pop up, so that's something they seem to have removed. The only thing that I have done here so far is to increase the font size a little bit. You'll notice that one of the things they've changed is that the applets no longer have that little pointer that sticks up off of the panel down here. It just docks to the panel. Actually, I kind of like that. So let's jump into installing this and seeing how it goes. One of the nice things about Linux Mint is that if you're going to be testing it in a virtual machine, they usually have all the drivers set up and ready to go for you. So we need to choose a language, which is English. That works well for me. Continue. You definitely want to check this box if you're going to be installing this. This will get you all of your third-party codecs and Java plugin and all kinds of stuff like that that you're going to need to actually make the distribution useful. So we clicked on that. Now what has been happening in the past is that when you get to this point right here, This just kind of sits and crunches for a while. Let's see what it does in 18.1. I doubt they've done much to the installer, to tell you the truth. And it's doing what it has done traditionally, which is just kind of sit here and crunch and crunch and crunch. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do the express install here and erase the disk and install Linux Mint. This is a virtual machine with a 16 gigabyte drive in it, so whatever it wants to do is fine with me. And it's saying that I need to approve this, so let's continue. That's fine with me. Choose a time zone. And that's fine. New York, Eastern Time, US, that's me. And a keyboard layout. That seems to be correct, English US. And then we have to put in some information, so let's put in some information. Put in a name. What should we call this particular virtual machine? Let's call it, I'll just call it LM-18-1. That's fine for a username. Put in your super secure password. Okay, I do not want it to log in automatically. I would set this up to log in automatically if I was just running it in a virtual machine the way I normally do, but when you install it, if you're doing it on hardware, especially a laptop, I do not recommend logging in automatically. Have the system ask you. Encrypting the home folder, I will leave that up to you. I wouldn't do it. It does slow the system down a little bit, and it makes it difficult to reinstall if you have to. If you encrypt the home folder, you're basically going to have to create a full backup before you can actually go in there and reinstall the system, because if you reinstall it, you're going to lose all your data. Whereas if you do not encrypt the home folder and then you create a separate partition for the home folder, you can reinstall the operating system without having to reload all the data. Okay, so this is going to crunch along for a little while. We'll go ahead and pause the video and let it finish, and we will come back when it is ready to reboot. Okay, the installation is complete. That didn't take too long. Everything seemed to go really well. Let's go ahead and restart it. See what happens. Press enter to eject. That's where you would take your USB stick out or your DVD, whichever one you were using to install. We're doing this in a virtual machine, so that'll do it automatically. Okay, we are now booting. This is the real deal booting up here. Boot time's pretty quick. We're running this in a virtual machine and I'm capturing video at the same time. So this is what it looks like. Choose the user. Put in my super secret and secure password. And here comes the desktop. Okay, I heard the boot sound saying that it's running in software rendering mode, which means that it is not seeing full 3D acceleration in the video card. I have the generic Virtualbox drivers running. This is the ones that are provided by the distribution, so I haven't looked at that yet to install the proper ones yet. That could be why we're seeing that. This time we did get the welcome screen. Didn't get it when I booted from the live image. We can go ahead and close that. First thing I need to do here is change the font size, make it a little easier for everybody to see, you and me. And then we're going to go through a couple of things that you ought to do when you install a new Linux distribution. So I guess this does qualify a little bit as an installation guide because we're going through the installation process. Okay, I'm not going to fool with any of the settings just yet. First thing you want to do when you install Linux Mint is to choose an update policy. They choose this one in the middle here, which is that they will update everything except system sensitive stuff like the kernel, and that you will have to approve, or you can just set it to update everything. I have been telling folks to use the middle policy so you see when kernels come in, but the truth of the matter is that you really should just upgrade everything. And you shouldn't choose this option, the first option here, where it does not upgrade the kernel and system sensitive things, unless you are a complete and total noob and have no idea what any of that stuff is about, because if a new kernel does come in and something breaks, you might be lost. So we're just going to tell it to go ahead and upgrade everything. And it's crunching along and doing its thing. And it's telling us we have a couple of updates. The next thing that you want to do before you do anything else is you need to choose your mirrors. These are different websites that host Linux Mint around the world, and you want to find one that is close to you. The closer your mirror is, the more reliable the connection is going to be, and the faster it's going to be. So you would open up software sources here just by clicking OK, and click on the first one, and let it go through its thing, and then it's going to find the nearest, closest, fastest mirror for you. And in my case, I can already tell you that it's going to be James Madison University. I like to choose universities if I can, instead of commercial hosters or hosters that I don't recognize. James Madison University is in Harrisonburg, Virginia. It's about 250 miles away from where I am. I used to live in Harrisonburg, so if I was still living there, then my host would actually be literally about a mile down the road. But I'm not there anymore. Same thing for the Ubuntu base. This is a different set of mirrors. I'm going to jump ahead on this one here because I kind of already know which one I need. That's Virginia Tech, which is also about 250 miles away from me. I clicked it and then it just sort of seemed to disappear. Where'd it go? Where'd you go, Virginia Tech? Well, it's the... Oh, I see. Okay, let's go ahead and apply that. It says it's finding a couple that are faster, but Virginia Tech's reliable. Then you want to update the cache once you do that. Now it's going to go out and it's going to reload all of the local information about available packages. Make sure that it's going to get the latest and greatest of everything when you do your update. That's done. Close software sources. And we will install the updates. It's got a couple of, usually updates the Mint Update program, which is this program right here, first. Put in your password. Wait for it to do its thing. That's going really, really quick, though. Because we're just installing essentially this program right here. Okay, and then it's going to reload the program. Now we should get a longer list of updates. Yep, So these are the bunch of updates here. And you really want to do this part of the deal before you do anything else with the distribution. People get into trouble all the time. They do not update, and then they will go through and they'll start playing with things and installing things, and they run into problems. Make sure that everything is up to date before you start changing the system. So we're going to go ahead and turn this loose. It'll probably take it 5 to 10 minutes to do this. Whoa, we got a problem. Okay, that's fine. I don't care. Thought for a second there it was going to have an issue where it couldn't download an update or something like that. So we'll get this started. I'll pause the video, let it install all of its updates, and then we'll continue. So it's downloading. This shouldn't take too terribly long for this to do. Be back when it's done. Just about finished with all of the updates. And the first thing that you want to do after the updating is done is to restart the computer. So we're going to let it get done crunching here, and we're going to restart, and then we'll look around at the desktop. And then toward the end of the video here, I'm going to show you a few tweaks that I do with Linux Mint whenever I install it. Just some things that I have found that you need to take a look at and make sure that some boxes are checked so that you have a smooth experience with Linux Mint. I'm going to get into it and look at the themes and that sort of thing. Right now it is configuring a kernel, which is the latest 4.4 kernel there. It's -5.9. Did a video about all of the different kernels that are available in Ubuntu. The way they handle kernels can be a bit confusing, especially for newbies. The 1604 series of kernels is the 4.4, and they're just going to keep maintaining it for as long as 1604 is going to be around. So if you see that your Ubuntu is running 4.4 and then you read somewhere, well, they're on what, 4.9 now? It's not that that's an old kernel. It's just the one that Ubuntu has decided to keep updating, so they're maintaining it themselves. So no need to get freaked out and go, well, I don't have the latest kernel. I've got to hack in the latest Linux Foundation 4.9 kernel, the raw kernel. No, you don't have to do that. Actually, on Linux Mint 17.3 and Ubuntu 14.04, the kernel that is working the best is 313-107. So there's been 107 upgrades on that kernel. The version number of the kernel is not that important. The revisions are what's important. So that's something to keep in mind. And it's taking its sweet time to configure this. That's all right. You got time. I got time. We can just hang out, right? So that's what it's doing. And we'll just wait for it to get done. It did download a lot of updates. So that means that they've done some tweaking to Linux Mint 18.1 since they have released it originally, which is good. That means they're working out bugs and problems. People get freaked out and they go, well, I installed this and it just pulled down like 400 megabytes of updates. That's no problem. That's what's supposed to happen. All right, we're almost done here. Anytime you're upgrading a kernel, it takes it some time. Kernels are huge, and they take a long time to compile and configure. So let's see what this does now. And I'm all up to date. So the very next thing to do will be to reboot the system. This is important. Don't start playing with it yet. I know you're all anxious and excited. You want to start playing with your new Linux, but you want to make sure that it is all rebooted. I don't know why I opened settings. My brain said one thing and the mouse finger said to do another. So I don't want to log out either. I want to reboot. Clicked a button. Thank you. Now we're going to restart. Sometimes, too, with virtual machines, the mouse It can be a little laggy. If you watch that big video that me and Jeremy O'Connell did not too long ago, you notice that Jeremy was having some mouse issues. That's because he was running in a virtual machine to demonstrate all the stuff with SSH and connect to SSH and everything. Okay, so let's see what happens when it boots up again. Well, that worked just fine. Put your password in. And in we go. And then we can start actually looking around at the desktop. I like to go through that in videos just so you kind of see how the process works. Okay, we have our desktop still running in software rendering mode. I'm not going to worry about it. Everything's going to function just fine. It might be a little bit slower. So once you get everything updated and you've restarted, then the next thing that you're going to want to do is look at the drivers. We'll take a quick look at that. So just put in drivers, and you get the driver manager. If you're new to Linux, get used to putting that password in, boy. Linux, that's one of the things about it. It's secure that way. And it's going to tell me what the state of the drivers are. I'm just curious to know. Updating the cache yet again. And it seems to have the correct drivers installed, but it is still telling me that I'm in software rendering mode. So I don't know. That's interesting. We'll work on that later. Might want to install. I don't know if I can fix that, to tell you the truth, because those should be the latest drivers coming down from the repositories right there. So maybe a little problem we've run into here with Linux Mint. Okay, let's just start looking around. Let's go to settings, and we'll start playing around. Look at the different backgrounds. I always find that to be kind of interesting. Okay, so we have these backgrounds, which are the stock backgrounds. And then we have the ones for Sarah, which is Linux Mint 18. We've seen those before. And then we have the new ones, which is the ones we want to look at, see what we got. Looks like we got quite a few to choose from. See any in here that look cool to me? Honestly, none of these are jumping out and going, boy, I want this to be the background. But it's fun to look at. Of course, you can choose things out of your pictures folder as well. Okay, that's enough on backgrounds. You see what we got. Let's go to themes. Don't think it's all Mint X at this point. We have kind of really like Mint Y Dark, so let's throw that in there and see what it looks like. Use the Mint Y icons. Do Mint Y Dark here again. Let's see what we got here. Well, we got a Mint Y Dark. So we'll throw in the dark theme just for fun. There you go. So that's what it looks like. And the new Mint Y icons, they kind of look like what you get from New Mix or Arc or something like that. I like the old Gnome icons best. I've got to tell you the truth. I just don't like these icons. I find them harder to see. So just for me, I'm going to throw in the Gnome icons. There we go. So now we have those gaudy Gnome icons. I just love them. See, they have all different shapes and everything, so that's pretty cool. Back to settings. They said they updated the screensaver, so I want to take a look at that. Where is screensaver? Screensaver, there you are. And the settings appear to be just about the same. So they have upgraded the look. What I do is just turn the thing off. I don't see any need to have it on. The only time I ever have it come on is when the computer is put to sleep. And we can just go ahead and set that to never. All right. look at one of the other things that I always say to do is to come to this login screen down here and turn off the regular theme, because in the past it's caused problems. Now, one of the things they said in the release notes is that they have changed a lot of this and it's not a problem anymore. But I always set it to carbon. Here's where you can also set this up to auto log in a user. So you would go into users and then you would add yourself to a group called no password login, and then you could tell this thing every time that it boots up to just log you in. So you would do it right here. So pretty much looks like Linux Mint 18. I'm not seeing a huge bunch of differences here. It's the same stuff. I do know that one of the things that they did was they've dumped Banshee, which is okay by me. If you've watched my past videos, you'll know that I have always said that I liked Banshee, but Banshee lately has kind of gotten a little weird, and Rhythmbox is a better music player. I mean, for those of you who care about such things. And I would be using Rhythmbox, except I'm running Linux Mint 17.3, and that's an older version of Rhythmbox, which I don't like. So I'm using Banshee on my 17.3 machines. Either one, there's not a huge amount of difference between them, but I did find it interesting that they dumped that. One of the things you got to look out for in Linux Mint is setting it to install all of the recommended programs when you install software. This is a problem with Linux Mint. I don't know why they do this, and it does present issues down the road, because people will go to the software manager and they'll download a program and then they'll find that features don't work. There's something wrong with it, and it's because of this. So you go into settings, go to preferences in Synaptic Package Manager. That is the application we're running. And we need to set this to consider recommended packages as dependencies. See, when stuff is packaged, when software is put together, the developer can mark things as dependencies, which means that, hey, you need to install this library or other program to make this program work. That's perfectly fine. It's how development works in Linux. But then there's another list of recommended software. This is stuff that will add features to the piece of software or something like that. Linux Mint has this set up not to install that. So you'll install something and you'll find that, well, I don't have this feature or whatever the deal is. So make sure you turn that on and then restart Synaptic before you start installing. And then that will also take effect in the software manager, which is the next thing that I want to take a look at here. See if there's been any major changes. Okay, and this always takes a little while to load, gang. Linux Mint is not the fastest distribution of Linux by far, but it is very stable, and it offers a lot of features. So no, it's not the fastest car in the garage when it comes to Linux, but it's like a station wagon. It's like an old minivan, you know? It's good general purpose Linux. This looks about the same. Yeah, works pretty much the same. No huge changes there. Let's play with the panel and try and get the panel to be vertical. I want to see what that looks like. Let's see here. How do you make it do that stuff? Well, we can always choose to always show the panel, intelligently hide, or auto hide. Intelligently hide is usually the way I Well, let's see here. This is kind of interesting. Okay, this is where I can resize the panel. I like a large panel, and I like to intelligently hide the panel. Where do I do the where do we position the panel? want the pointer to pass through the edges of the panel. Okay, we'll put it in panel edit mode. See if I can drag it. Okay, so how do you make a vertical panel? Do I have to add a panel? Oh, I see. Okay, so we need to add a panel over here. All right, so we've added the panel, and there's nothing on it. So do I drag stuff off of this panel and put it up there? I mean, I got to rebuild the panel. I can't move it. It would appear to be that that's the way this works. Okay, we're in panel edit mode. Let's see if I can just... Well, yeah, I can drag it up here. Okay, so... Well, no. Add applets to the panel. There's probably some really easy way to do this, and I'm just not seeing it. So let's add a menu. Well, did it do it? Okay, I find that to be a little counterintuitive. Seems to me the whole thing... Okay, is it working? Let's see here. Just remove that side panel. So what you're telling me is I don't have a function to move that panel. Well, maybe there is. Hold on. Okay. Let's right click. Modify panel. See if it's in here. Here we go. Move the panel. All right. Just stick it up here. Okay, that works. All right, that's fine. Comes more like a Unity panel. Except the position of these is now a little weird. Clock render's funny. Look at this. Let's go in here and do date and time and see what happens if I change this clock to... Let's make it not 24-hour format. Let's do AM PM. Well, that's a little strange. The numbers are stacked up like that. So, okay, there you go. Let's see what happens if I restart the desktop. I want to see if those icons change. With the Cinnamon desktop, alternate F2, type in R, and it will reload the desktop. No, it didn't change the position. They're still kind of stuffed right up next. Well, here we go. Okay. Did I restart the wrong desktop? I may have, folks. There we go. Okay. Here we are. Nope, didn't change much at all. Oh, I did restart the host desktop. Okay, let's do the one in the VM. That would probably help. Nope, didn't change the position of those. Okay, so even after reloading it, it didn't like fix the clock numbers. That's a little strange. Even after reloading it. Let's go to desktop. I want to do one more thing here very quickly. If I can find it. Date and time. There it is, desktop. It's right in front of me the whole time. Okay, I want to get rid of the computer icon because really you don't need it. I mean, I like to have an active desktop, but the only one that I need to see is home. See, that looks a little better. It's a little less cluttered. Of course, now we have it where you have this icon right here, and then this icon does exactly the same thing. So I guess you could just get rid of home altogether if you wanted to, because they're sitting right there next to each other. Home takes you to home. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much as deep as I'm going to dive into this. Yeah, you can get this to work. I don't know whether it's worth the effort or not. Tell you the truth. Maybe if we... I don't know. It's just that clock doesn't seem to work well at all in a vertical panel. Of course, you could create another panel across the top, which would be completely useless, and then you could move all this stuff over there if you wanted to. You could sit there and play with it. Okay, all right, gang. One last thing I wanted to show you, and it's a setting that you need to tweak to make your Linux Mint run a little faster. You want to come in here and come to Disks, or just Disk. Did they remove the disk utility? Maybe it's not in there. Maybe it's in here. Not under settings. Yeah, okay. My fault. Did that wrong. All right, here we go. We're going to open up this utility. This is Gnome Disks, and this is a very cool application, and it lets you control all things storage-wise on your system. You can format disks. You can create ISO images. Definitely worth taking a quick look at. You want to come down to drive settings. Doesn't matter what kind of drive you have, gang, whether it's an SSD or whether it's a spinning drive, whatever. You want to turn this write cache on. It will make the system go a lot faster, and even though it warns you about data loss if the system suddenly shuts down and all that kind of stuff, not a big deal. Don't worry about it. I've never had it happen. But it does make things go a lot faster, especially in virtual machines. So there you have it, gang. That was me just kind of fumbling around and taking a look at Linux Mint 18.1 conclusion. I see absolutely positively no reason to upgrade from Linux Mint 18 to 18.1 unless there is some sort of hardware issue that you've been dealing with that may be addressed in 18.1. Other than that, I don't see any reason at all. This is not that huge of a difference. It runs and looks and acts pretty much the same except for this thing right here, which I'm not real excited about. So there you go. That is Linux Mint 18.1 in a nutshell. Still a very nice release from Linux Mint. Seems to be running very well, other than the fact that it's coming up in software rendering with the standard virtual machine drivers for Virtualbox. Don't know why it's doing that, but Other than that, everything seems to be working the way it should. So I hope you've enjoyed me poking around and taking a look at this thing. Kind of got into some stuff probably I didn't need to, but there you go. Once you get it set up, it should be all right. Thanks for watching. We will do it again soon. Go ahead and shut this bad boy down while I'm saying goodbye. Not going to be keeping this virtual machine around. If it doesn't run well in the virtual environment, there's no point in doing that. Check out Easy Linux on the web. Check out Easy Linux on Facebook. Also check out freedompenguin.com for lots of really cool stories about Linux. I got a couple of new ones up there you might want to read. And also check out CyberWeb Solutions. You can do a search for that in Google, and it will take you directly to the website. I don't have it linked here. If you have questions about Linux that are more server inclined, maybe you want to set Linux up in your business, the man to talk to for that is Jeremy O'Connell at CyberWeb Solutions. Thought I'd give him a plug here at the end of the video. Thanks for watching, gang. I certainly do appreciate it. We will do this again soon.